All right, once we've got our bridge attached, the nut bone as well, everything's on here, we're gonna take some time and get some final sanding done to this. We've already sanded everything. However, in the process of gluing things on or other things, maybe there's some glue smudges, pencil marks, maybe some scratches and other things. So go ahead and do your final sanding. And you can use a random orbit sander for certain parts. Let's go 220 grit on everything, and maybe even do some stuff by hand, just kind of just smoothing everything up, but make it look really, really nice before we get the finish put on here. You might have some other parts that maybe need to have some wood filler if there's any holes or cracks or gaps and other things like that. And so we can use a little bit of wood filler and sand and just touch up everything and make it look perfect on this. So I'm going to use a combination of just either by hand or the random orbit on some things. Okay, I've finished sanding it all, getting all those little gaps filled in, and then sanded over top of that as well. So I think it's all ready to go. For lacquer, before we lacquer this, we need to tape off the fretboard here, this fingerboard, as well as our bridge, because we don't want any lacquer on those. Those are going to get oiled later on. But the rest of this we're going to leave exposed for the lacquer. So just get some of this tape, and be careful as you tape this off that you get it just perfectly accurate taping off. So we don't want to cover up any of the body, or on the neck we don't want to cover up any of the mahogany, but all of this rosewood, we're going to cover that up. And then our bridge we're going to cover up as well. So I'm going to make sure when I tape this off that I just get it right up to the edges here. And take your time with this. Just tape it all off so when we lacquer it, we don't get any lacquer on that fretboard or the bridge. I'm getting right up to the edge of my fretboard and making sure that none of the mahogany neck is going to be covered up. I want to only cover up just the rosewood. So I'm getting that covered up, and then we also cover up all the frets. Make sure you get this bridge as well. And you don't want any of the tape overhanging any of the part you want lacquer on. So just make sure it's nice and clean and crisp and taped off, but not covering up any of the body of the ukulele. Again, we're just taped off everywhere, making sure it's nice and tight. No overhanging anywhere, and nothing exposed. Same thing with our neck. We've got the whole side taped all the way right up to the mahogany. Just all of that rosewood is taped off everywhere. And we're ready for lacquer. We want to cover this sound hole. Maybe just get a scrap piece of paper, fold it up a little bit, and then I just kind of wedge it in here and then open it up inside there. And just get it so when we spray this with lacquer that no lacquer gets on the inside, so it'll hit the paper instead. So just a scrap piece. And we'll head over to the booth and get this lacquered. We're going to do probably 3 coats of lacquer at least on here. After the first coat of lacquer, you're going to take one of these purple sponge scuff pads and just scuff the whole thing. You feel the
lacquer is a little bit rough as it dries after the first coat. And so you just smooth it up, hit the whole thing anywhere where it's been lacquered with a little scuff pad.
We're gonna come back and spray another coat of lacquer on here. We're actually gonna do 3 coats of lacquer total. And after each coat dries, hit it with that little scuff pad. So we'll put the second coat on now, and then later we'll get the last and final coat. After your second coat of lacquer, if it's rough anywhere, you can hit it with that scuff pad again. If it's not rough and it's really smooth, then you don't really need to do that scuff pad, but just check it and then just hit it with the scuff pad, and we're gonna do one more final coat of lacquer. Okay, we've done our final coat of lacquer. It's nice and shiny now. We want to really take care not to scratch it at this point. Maybe have it on some carpet every time you're working on it or other things. But it turned out great. We just need to now take the tape off. We can also get this little piece of paper out. Pull that out of that sound hole that was protecting the lacquer from getting inside. We'll carefully take all the tape off, and then we're going to use some oil on the fretboard and that bridge. And I've just got some mineral oil that we're going to rub on there. So we'll kind of see how it looks, taking all the tape off. Okay, just get a little cloth. You could use a paper towel if you want, or just a little piece of cloth. And it doesn't need a lot of oil. Just put a little bit of oil on here, and you're just going to rub it on. Again, we're just getting the fretboard and the bridge. And don't forget to get the sides as well on here. Just kind of rub it in. Try to work it into all those little crevices everywhere. I'm just going to cover that whole thing with oil. Okay, once we have the oil on everywhere, just kind of wipe it, make sure it's all smooth so there's no splotchiness to it. We'll let that dry. And we've got our ukulele all finished. We just need to put the strings on and tuning pegs and get the last few little things done on it. Looks great.